remember how I mentioned that I have a feeling the disciples sat around that table after Jesus said, "One of you will betray me," and they began to look around to see who it could be. And maybe there was this thought in their mind, I don't think it's me. Maybe they weren't sure. Maybe they thought about doing what Judas was doing too. Maybe it all got too real for them and it was just becoming too much. So imagine Peter's surprise or Simon's surprise. We get two different names, and sometimes we just call him Simon Peter. But we find here in verse 31 a conversation between Jesus and Simon Peter that might be a bit surprising. Take a listen. Jesus says, "Simon, Simon, look, Satan has asserted the right to sift you all like wheat. However, I have prayed for you that your faith won't fail. When you have returned, strengthen your brothers and sisters." Peter responded, "Lord, I'm ready to go with you, both to prison and to death." Jesus replied, "I tell you, Peter, the rooster won't crow today before you have denied 3 times that you know me." There's a couple things that are worth pointing out, and I could give you a whole sermon on just this passage. In fact, maybe I'll do that sometime. But the things I want to point out are this. Notice at the beginning it says, "Simon, Simon, Satan has asserted the right to sift you like wheat." He's talking about the disciples. He's talking about this idea that temptation and greed and these things that we face on a regular basis as humans is alive and well even among the disciples. They are not exempt from it. And Simon Peter's reply is, "Lord, don't you know that I will not betray you?" He's still thinking about that. He's still thinking about that. I will not betray you. I am ready to go to jail, to prison, to the cross with you. And Jesus says, well, I've prayed. And I pray that you would stay faithful. The rooster will not crow today until you've denied me 3 times. The blow that must have been to Simon Peter. To hear that, to suddenly be told that you are going to be one who denies me. In all this time, he's been trying to come to the conclusion that he wasn't the one who was going to betray him. Judas was the one to betray him, but I'm going to deny you? That had to hit to his core. Sometimes we think about Simon Peter as like the model disciple, the one to be. We know his name maybe the best, and later on we see that Jesus even confers upon him the task of being the one who would begin the church. But Simon Peter is going to betray Jesus. He's going to deny him. He's going to deny having known him. And yet, Jesus is still invested in him. Jesus is still invested in him. And notice he says, I've been praying that you would keep faith. Somehow we've conflated this idea of falling short of God's expectations as completely losing our faith. We fall short of God's expectations of us all the time. But that doesn't mean that we've walked away. It doesn't mean that we're not still invested. It doesn't mean that we're giving up. Jesus is still invested in who Simon Peter is, even though he knows that he'll deny him. Jesus is still invested in me and in you, even though Jesus knows that we're not perfect, and at times we'll deny, we'll betray, we'll walk away. But Jesus is investing in us, praying for us, hoping for us. That is good news. Amen.